So it was like my second year of being a youth pastor. We were at the fall retreat, and I'm sitting on the ground, and there's this junior high kid laying on the ground in front of me, and he's like crying, okay, like really crying, because starting about down in his sock-covered feet, there are these stickers. Y'all know what stickers are? Those little round things you get in the yard. And they're all over his socks and his legs and his shorts and his shirt and his arms. They are covering his body. And he is crying and just doesn't know what to do. And like how did he get in this situation? So just a little bit earlier in the day, I see him walking around, and I don't want to use his real name, so Russ. Okay, we'll call him Russ. Okay, so I looked at him and said, "Hey, Russ," which really confused him because that wasn't his name. No, "Hey, Russ," and I said, "You need to put some shoes on," because he's walking around outside in the woods in his socks. And I said, "You need to put some shoes on." He's like, "Oh, no, I do this all the time at home. Like, I never wear shoes. I play football without shoes. I run down the street without shoes. I don't need shoes." I'm like, "Dude, you need shoes." But he didn't listen. He didn't put his shoes on. So he's walking around, and he's having a good time. The fall retreat's really fun. And there was apparently a patch of those stickers. And so he's walking around, and he steps on it, and it happens so fast, okay? So he steps on it, and there's instant pain through his sock into his foot. And he goes, "Ow. Ow, oh, ow." And then so he starts trying, and then he falls, okay? And now he's literally rolling through the stickers and going, "Ow, ow, ow." And now he's crying, and he finally rolls out. He gets on the sidewalk, and he doesn't know he's got him. And so now I'm just sitting here, and I'm picking them out like one at a time out of this kid. And he's like, I guess I should have made a different decision." I'm like, "Yes, you should have. That was a dumb decision," right? Now, have you ever made a dumb decision and it caught up with you? Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Like you told your parents you're going to do one thing and you did something else, and they found out and they were like, "Oh, that was a dumb decision. I should not have lied to them about that." Or you decided, "I know, I'm going to stay up all night and watch Netflix and not study for the test. It'll be fine." And then you get the test and you're like, "I should have studied. Yeah, this was a bad decision." Have you ever made that decision? I don't know, you made these decisions where okay, I could do this will be fine. And then you realize it was definitely a really bad decision. And we've all had those kind of things. And here's what you already know about life, and if you've ever made a bad decision or a good decision, that is that yesterday's decisions determine today's destination. What I decided to do yesterday, my decisions from yesterday determine today's destination, where I'm at. Now, sometimes it's like last moment's decision, like that kid decided to just walk in his socks, and that moment led him to a destination that was on the floor covered in stickers, okay? And that was an instant kind of a thing. And sometimes it's other simpler things. And this makes it pretty obvious in your life. You've seen this happen. You made a decision yesterday, and it affected you today. Sometimes you made a decision a few weeks ago, and it affected you today. And so that's kind of handy maybe, but not as important maybe as the next one, because this is kind of looking back, but we can also look forward, and we can say today's decisions determine tomorrow's destination. And this is actually a really important thing, because what I do today is going to determine tomorrow, like where I'm at tomorrow. And this is both really cool and really handy and really scary at the same time. Because based on some of the decisions that you make right now, your life tomorrow could be somewhere good or be somewhere not good. You can make decisions right now that are going to make things better in your life or make things worse in your life. And that is that's good, because hey, I can make the right decisions and go somewhere good, but I could also make the wrong decisions and end up somewhere. See, there are decisions that you can make right now that are going to affect you when you're even an adult, even when you're later. Anybody 17, 18 years old? 17, 18? Okay. I have a friend when he was 19, so very close to you. He already had over $2,000 in credit card debt. And then another friend, by the time he was 22, okay, that's not very far from some of you, okay, especially the older ones. Over $10,000 in credit card debt, plus a car payment and school payments. This guy, over his eyeballs, and he goes, "I messed up," okay? He really realized, I'm going to be paying this for forever. I can't pay. And I was like, "What kind of stuff do you have?" He's like, "I have nothing. If I sold everything, it would be $100. He had waste and all this debt. And I was like, "How did you get there?" He was making these decisions there wasn't a destination. He was making these decisions and here's the thing, you're making all kinds of decisions. You may make decisions in relationships today that will determine whether you have good relationships in your future. This is even crazy. There are things you can do now that will make your marriage someday, if you get married, hopefully maybe, better or worse. Like you can do things now that could cause problems later. Or you can do things now that set you up for success later. In fact, that is a lot of what we're going to talk about all through February in the relationship series, setting yourself up for good. And being good now, but and good later. So just understanding this, though, that my decisions today affect my tomorrow. Now, there's good news in this, and it's actually better than what some of you think. See, like if you're not a Christian, this is true for you, right? I mean, nobody doubts this. Nobody's like, nope, what I do today does not affect my tomorrow. I mean, if that's what you think, nobody thinks that. Okay, everybody knows that, okay, that what I do today, you don't have to be a Christian to believe this or for this to affect your life in a positive way. Because you can look at where you want to be and make decisions based on that. That's awesome. But I want to say there's something even better. So if you are a believer, this is something that's even better for you, and that is that God wants to help you with these. He wants to help you make the decisions. And I actually believe that he has a will and a plan for your life. And if you can learn his will and apply his will to your life, it's going to help you make the better decisions and lead to a better destination. So last week we talked about seeking God. Anybody remember that? I hope so. Okay. We talked about, the question was, what are you seeking in your life? And are you seeking God? And we hope that maybe we are seeking God with our life, that we're intentionally seeking him. And so we looked at these verses, and I wanted to just kind of hit a couple of them again because we actually skipped one that a lot of people may have heard before. But here's what we read last week. It's Jeremiah 29:12. It says, and God is talking to his people, and he says, then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you, which is a pretty amazing thing. He says if you call him, if you talk to him, he's going to listen. That's pretty awesome. And then he keeps going, you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. When we're seeking him with all of our heart, in fact, he even says it, reiterates it. He says, I will be found by you. And this is pretty cool, that you can find God. You can have a relationship with him. That if you will seek him, you will eventually find him. Sometimes it takes a little extra seeking. Some of us a little more difficult than others, but you will find him. If you seek him, you will find him. Now, this is what we looked at last week. And like I said, there was actually a verse before this that is much more popular, okay? It's one of those verses people they write on their houses, they get tattoos of it. There's all kinds of stuff people do with this, okay? They like this verse, okay? And so here's this verse that we skipped last week. And before I show it to you, I want to understand what's happening. And it's because it's important to understand the context. God is talking to his people, the Israelites, okay? So this is in the Old Testament. He's talking to his people. They have rebelled against God, and they are outside of his plan for his life. So if it was representing us, this would be you or me when I have acted against God's will and I'm living outside of what he has for me. Okay, so he's talking to some people that are in that situation, and he's saying, now there's going to be a time when you seek me again, okay? And there's going to be a time when that happens again, and so this is what you need to know. So he's talking to these people who have rejected him, saying, you're going to come back, and this is what I want you to know for when you come back. This is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. The plans he has for you. He has plans. He said, I have plans for y'all. You may have rejected me, you may have run away from me, but I still have plans for you. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Okay, he has good things, not harm. Plans to give you hope and a future. So he's looking at these people that have rejected him. They're away from him. They're outside of his plan. In fact, in some ways, they're even being punished for it. But they're outside of God's plan for them. And he says, okay, I just want you to know, even though you've rejected me, even though you're far away from me, I still have plans for you, and they're good plans. It's kind of like, do any of you ever use GPS? Like those of you that drive. Okay, if you don't drive, you've seen your parents use GPS. You know what I'm talking about? Now, here's the thing. GPS is great for marriages. Okay, this is like way in your future dating advice. Okay, or even when you start dating. Okay, the people in the back that are couples are smiling. Okay, married couples. This is a thing you learn about this. Me and Tracy learned this. You don't talk about each other's driving in the car. That is what every couple I know, I think, has fought about that at some point. So and me and Tracy had to learn. We didn't fight, but this would be the thing that would just always get us irritated at each other, you know? And I don't know what it is. You're driving and somebody goes, don't forget to turn. Do you think I forgot how to drive? Come on. It's instantly there's this thing. And so we made this rule. We don't talk about driving when we're driving, okay? And so Tracy's taking this to the extreme. I get kind of in la-la land when I'm driving sometimes. I don't know if that happens to you. And I accidentally forget to turn. Or I just drive somewhere. And so one time we're going to a restaurant, and I just go right past it, and I just keep going, and she just sits there. because, I mean, you got to keep the peace, right? And so she just sits there, and eventually I go, where am I? Like, what? And she goes, I was wondering if you, and so then I was like, you can tell me, just tell me. So the next time, we're going, and this happens sometimes. I frequently, actually. I'm not thinking when I'm driving. This gives you confidence when I'm driving your van, I know. And so I'm driving, and she's like, honey. I'm like, yeah. And she goes, are we still going to Chick-fil-A? I was like, oh man. And so I'm like turning around, and I have to, so the GPS does something actually very similar to that. So, if I was like, let me try this. I don't know if this is going to work. Navigate to Chick-fil-A, because that's where you want to go, right? There we go. I've got some options. Okay, here we go. So now I is going to hopefully bring up, there it is, directions to Chick-fil-A. You're ready to go. And so if I follow this, and I hopefully I can get to Chick-fil-A from here, but anyways, I start driving, if I get to Wilshire and I turn right, okay, the GPS doesn't go, moron, Chick-fil-A is left, okay? It doesn't do that. It's like, fine, you're not going to Chick-fil-A anymore. It's over for you, okay? It just simply says this one thing. It says rerouting. Have you ever seen that? Like, if you made a wrong turn, rerouting, and it will create another way to get there. Okay, so I think this is kind of what just happened in this verse. See, God's people are away from him. They have not been following him. They're not going where he wants for them. And this is what he's saying. I'm rerouting. See, where you're at right now is not where I have for you, but I still have plans for you. And, like when this has to reroute for me, sometimes it has to take me in a different direction. Sometimes it takes me longer than it would have to get there. Sometimes it costs me more gas. And if I go far enough the wrong direction, it might take me to a different Chick-fil-A. I don't know if that's an option, but it still gets me to the destination. And here's what he's saying. Look, some of you've been running from God, you've been away from God, and this is what you need to know this. He still has a plan for you. And he's saying, okay, I'm ready, rerouting. I'm going to get you there. It may have been a different route. It may take a little longer. It might be a rougher of a road. But however we're going to get there, I'm going to get you there if you will. I still have a plan for you. He's rerouting. And so I want you to know this. If you haven't been seeking him and you start seeking him, he still wants you. He still can get you there. So one of the ways that we seek him, the main ways that we seek him is by seeking him through his will. When we are walking in his will, in his plan, we are walking with him. So I want to help you discover how to be in God's will. How to know God's will for your life. Wouldn't that be cool? Like, if you could know his will for your life, that would be awesome. So I want us to know, because I know the plans. Okay, so God, you know them. Can I know them? Okay, yes and no. But yes, he's going to help us understand his plans, and so I want to help you understand his plans by giving you 3 asks, 3 things that you can ask him. If you ask these things, you will begin to know and be able to live in his plan. But before I tell you, I want to tell you the problem. And you will discover this hopefully by the end. It is actually easier to know God's will than to do it often. In fact, much of the time you know his will and you don't do it. And you're saying, God, tell me your will in this. And he goes, I've told you my will in like 15 things this day, and you haven't done any of them. Well, I'm going to tell you one more, okay? No, he doesn't have a bad attitude. He's God. He's like, rerouting. Okay, but no, he's not. The hard part is just doing it most of the time, okay? And you will see that. But I know sometimes we really do want to know his will, so I want to help you do that. So let me give you 3 things that will help you to do and know his will. Here's the first one. You ask, what does God's word say? When we ask, what does his word say? His word, the Bible, the scriptures are the primary way that he is going to share his will with you. There's others, we'll talk about that, but it is the primary way that he is going to let you know his will and what he wants you to do and how to live your life. Here's what a guy named David wrote about it, okay? He said, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light for my path. There have been times when I was trying to make a decision and it was dark and I could not see which way I was supposed to go. And I was just like, if someone would just show me the light, I would go that way. I don't know which way to go. I don't know what to do. And this is what he's saying that the word is supposed to do, that God's word is supposed to do. It says it's like a lamp to your feet. Have you ever stumped your toe in your bedroom at night? Like going to the bathroom or something at night? You ever done this? Okay. I have like some weights. I know you're like, do you use them? Okay. I have some weights and I've left them out in the middle and those things hurt, man, when you hit your toe. Here's what's going on. You think you know the path. You think that it's clear. And so you're just walking, in the, okay, and it hurts. Okay. It hurts. Okay. So this is what a lamp does. A lamp lights the path. You turn on your lamp, you turn on the light, what does it do? You can see the obstacles. And what he is trying to tell us here, his word, remember it said plans to prosper, not to harm. He wants to keep you from those harms. That there are things in your life that if you would hear his will through his word, that you would say, there's an obstacle there, because you can see it now, because he's shown you already through his word. And then he says, and it's a light for my path. a light for your path. So if you went on the retreat with us, you know this, but if you didn't, it's out in the woods, and there's these like walking paths that you go down, like these trails and stuff like that. And in the daytime, they're really easy to see. Like there's like arrows and stuff on trees, and you can do that. Well, then we went out at night, and there was actually a group that tried to go down one during this game that we play, and they got lost. And they like just were randomly walking through the woods because all of a sudden they couldn't see the path. It was so clear if you went during the day when there was light. And this is kind of the way it is in our life sometimes. We don't really know where to go. I thought I knew where the path was, but you can't see it because you're in the dark. His word is meant to be a light that shows you the path to go. And so much of the time, it's maybe too obvious. Well, let me just give you some does, okay? And then we'll get a little easier. But like, okay, if you're at the store, some store tomorrow, and you see something that you really, really want, okay? And whatever that is for you, you really want it, but you don't have any money. You don't have to go, God, is it your will for me to steal this or not? Okay? You don't have to do that, do you? Like, because you know it is not his will for you to steal it. I can guarantee you, he does not want you to steal it. He said, do not steal. Okay, that was pretty clear. And so that's kind of like, okay, duh, okay. You have somebody that like irritates you a lot? Anybody? Okay, I do. Okay, so think of that person's name real quick. Think of that person's name. Okay, you don't need to go home tonight and pray, Lord, should I murder them? Okay, like you don't have to ask him, do I need to murder, do I not murder? Okay, it is obvious, it is in his word, it's clear. Now you're like, okay, those are just stupid, okay. You don't have to ask God, should I sleep with my boyfriend or girlfriend who I'm not married to? It's as clear as day. You don't have to ask, he told us. You don't have to ask him to say, okay, well, what about stuff that's not like that? What about this? I struggle with anger. I'm always dealing with anger. What do I do about that? Did you know there are many passages that talk about how you can deal and handle anger? There are many passages that talk about how you can deal and handle stress in your life. You're like, I don't know what God's will. How would God have me get over this, do this? There are so many things. If you will begin to look, you will begin to find over and over again that he has already spoken about so many of the things that we deal with. Now, I know some of it's complicated and some of it's hard, and I read my Bible sometimes and go, I have no idea what that means, and I get that, okay? But there is so much that we can understand and can do, and if we will begin to learn his will in that area, that one area alone, it would change your life, and you could begin to actually walk in his will for you. All right, let's do another one. Ask. Ask someone else. Ask someone who is wise, godly, caring, and trustworthy. And I put a lot of adjectives on there, okay? Because this is important. I want to clarify. I don't just mean go ask somebody, what should I do? Okay, because you can get some dumb stuff, okay? So let me give you a little, ask someone who is wise. Wiser than you in this situation, okay? And it doesn't really do you much good to ask somebody with the same life experience in that situation as you, okay? So that means there are some cases when your friend is a good person to ask because they have maybe already gone through what you've gone through successfully. And you can ask that friend and say, hey, how did you handle this? And like, what did you do when you felt that way? And they can be a good person to ask. They could be wiser than you. Much of the time, your friend who's the same age of you is not the person to ask because they don't have the life experience or the wisdom to do it. Many times that's going to be somebody like, like your small group leader or an intern or a pastor or a coach or a teacher or your parents. Like, okay, I'm not talking to them. What are you talking about parents? They don't have no wisdom. They don't know. Okay, yeah, your parents. Like, okay, yeah, that's a good one. Okay, here's the next one. Okay, what? Godly. Okay, why would I seek wisdom, seek advice from somebody who's not seeking God if I'm seeking God? You know what I'm saying? Now, I understand there are people like that maybe in business can have business, help me in business that maybe don't know the Lord. But even in that, I would rather get advice from somebody who is seeking God like I am, okay? Because they are seeking the same thing. And if they're not seeking the same thing, they can't direct me towards the same thing. Because ultimately, in everything I do, I want it to be moving me towards God. It needs to be godly advice. One time, I heard this happen in our own youth group. There was a girl who was coming to youth here. She's not a leader or anything, just a normal person. And somebody went and asked her for advice. And it said, I'm really dealing with stress. How do you deal with your stress? And she said, oh, well, when I'm kind of stressed out, I smoke. And when I'm really stressed out, I drink. And this was the advice. Okay, and the girl came and told me this, and I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever, you're just going to put more problems on top of your problems. Okay, like please, this is an example of how, if you don't know that that's bad advice, please know that was really bad advice, okay? And this is why it needs to be wise, godly. And here's another one, caring. You can get on Google tonight and look up any question that you have in your life, can't you? Like this is the thing, like, how to make the person like me, okay? How to get forgiveness, how to do this, how to have a good relationship, okay? And you can read those articles and maybe there's something good, but this is something to remember. The people that write that article, they don't have any genuine care for you. They don't know you. And if it blew up, if their advice wasn't any good, they got their click, they got their ad money, they're done. Like, that's all that really matters. And you just need to remember, I would rather listen to somebody who actually cares about me and whether or not what their advice, how their advice impacted my life. Does that make sense? So we tend to trust something we found on Google, a search, over somebody in our life who cares about us. And that is a backwards way of thinking. And the last one, trustworthy. And you're like, well, of course it'd be somebody trustworthy. But let me kind of clarify what I mean by that. Somebody that can tell you the truth without worrying about what you would think. Because sometimes your friend who's very trustworthy in most issues could be nervous about telling you the truth because it might hurt the friendship. Like if you were in a bad relationship and you kind of asked them what they thought, and they know that if they tell you that you should get out of it, they're going to be mad at you. They might just say, oh, I'm sure it'll work out, whatever they say. Okay. And you want to find somebody that can tell you the truth without worrying about what you're going to say. And this exact thing happened to me when I was your age. So I had a teacher who was a really bad teacher. Anybody had a really bad teacher? Okay, my teacher was terrible. His name was I don't like using people's real name when I talk bad about him. What? Mr. Reed? Okay, Mr. Reed. And Mr. Reed was not a good teacher. And I remember the first time I saw him, he was walking down, he had a weird walk even, okay? Like even walked weird, okay? Like he literally walked like this down the hall, okay? This is Mr. Reed. And I was like, what is Mr. Reed doing, okay? And I came in class, and so the thing that was bad about him was he tried to write questions on tests that were trick questions. So the one that I remember, I'll never forget this because I remember the question very specifically. He said, it was in physics class, and he said, if I had this many pounds of saltine crackers, how much mass would it be? Okay, and earlier that week before the test, we had learned the equation to go from pounds to mass. It's a pretty simple equation. So I plugged in this stuff and I got the number. And then, you do the math on your page and then it's multiple choice. And when your number matches one of the numbers on multiple choice, you're like, got it, okay? Because what are the odds that you do the math or like wrong? So I got it, I circled the number and I turned it in. The next day I get the test back and it's marked wrong. And I say, this is right. Like, what, did you make a mistake? He was like, no, the correct answer was A, B, C, or D, okay? The correct answer was to write E. The question did not say whether the crackers were on Earth, space, or some other celestial body. So therefore, you cannot determine mass from pounds. Yeah. So I, at this point, I stand up in the class and I'm like, so I'm wrong if I'm eating crackers not on Earth? Like, if I'm ever eating it on the moon, I will say, Mr. Reed was right, but you are wrong. Like, I did everything but call him a moron in front of the class. Okay, and so the relationship between me and that teacher got really bad, you can imagine. And he was making my life really terrible. So I went to my friends and said, what would y'all do? Like, what should I do? And they're like, go to the principal and see if you can get him fired. Like, let's get him in trouble. Tell him what he did and do all this. And I was like, that sounds awesome. Is that like a real thing? So, but then I went to my band director who was a mentor to me, and he was all of these things. He was wise, okay? He was godly. He had his Bible sitting on his desk. He was a good man. He was caring. He cared about me and my future, and he was trustworthy. He would tell me the truth and not what I wanted to hear, right? And so he told me what to do. He said I had to go apologize, even though, I didn't believe it was my fault. He was the moron. And and he told me all this, and I did what he told me to do, and that relationship got better, and I got an A in the class, and things but here's what happened. I needed to get that godly advice, okay? And you need to seek that in your life. When you're making decisions, you need to get, I wonder if you guys would start asking at least one person that fits all of these before you got in your next relationship, if maybe you would avoid some bad relationships. Just saying. Okay, anyways, here's a verse. A wise man listens to advice. You want to be wise? Listen to advice. Ask God. Oh, that one seems kind of obvious, right? Like, ask God. This is what James says. If any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, and it will be given to him. Listen, if you will ask, he will begin to speak to you in ways, and he will speak into your spirit. There have been times in my life when I thought I was going to do something, and all of a sudden there was this lack of peace. There was just this, like, what's going on? And then he directed me in a different way. And he will speak to you, and you'll learn to listen to him. And it's kind of hard sometimes. One time you're like, okay, I think I feel, was that God or that burrito? I don't know for sure. Like something's going on inside, but I can't really tell. Okay, I understand that there's some learning there, and there's some understanding how God works and how he speaks, and you'll grow in that. But that is, you need to begin to ask him. So here's these things we just mentioned, okay? Ask, what does God's word say? Ask someone who is wise and godly, and ask God. And you begin to do these things, and he will begin to speak to you, and you will begin to hear things. And listen, the hard part, what you will discover, is not hearing what he wants you to do most of the time. It's doing what he wants you to do. So I thought about this though, and I didn't want to, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go really fast. But some of you may be thinking, okay, I did that and that and that, okay, and I still don't know what to do. Like, okay, this doesn't tell me what college to go to. I looked all through the Bible. It did not say which college to go to. Okay, this doesn't tell me, like these people didn't know either. Okay, I asked them. They had no good advice. I asked God, and I was like, God, nothing. Okay, like no peace, no stress, nothing. He didn't tell me anything. I don't know. Okay, so what am I supposed to do? And so I want to help you with that. You've asked him nothing. You've asked him nothing. Here's what you need to understand. First, you need to make sure that you are living in his will and what you do know. Because if you are walking in his will and what you do know, he will find a way to direct you, even if you don't feel like he spoke to you directly. So when I am walking in his will in the things that I do know, and there is something I don't know, this is what you do. You make the wisest choice that you know, and then trust that he's guiding you. So you're trying to decide, this college, and God, you've asked, you've prayed. There's no peace either way. There's no stress either way. It was like they were equal to God or something. And you've asked advice, and you've done this, and you know you're living in God's will in all the other areas. This is what you do. You make the wisest choice that you know how, and then you trust God to guide you the rest of the way. And you say, well, that sounds like I'm not even doing anything, like just doing my own choice. That's not really God. But let me tell you, this is amazing. If you're walking in his will, you will find that he guides you in other areas that you didn't even know he was doing. So when I first started here, I worked for a couple of years. This was many years ago. And I'll be blunt, I hated my job, okay? I remember leaving on Wednesday nights, sometimes going, I don't want to work there anymore. I can't stand this. The people were mean, like they're mean students. And then you're all sleeping while I'm preaching. Thank you for staying awake. Okay, anyways, like it was not a fun place. I did not like it. I wanted to leave. I was making less money than my last job. There was no reason to stay. But I felt like God said, you got to stay. Okay, so that was something I was praying about, and I felt like he told me to stay. And so I stayed. That was something I knew, like there was something in me that I could tell. There was something else I was praying about. I was single and had been single for a really long time. I was like, God, I'm tired of being single. And so I'd ask him things like, just, do you have somebody? Will you tell me? Okay, God, this is not when to be silent. Okay, like I don't want to think I'm going to be single for the rest of my life. Okay, please say something like, how am I going to meet her? Or when am I going to meet her? Let's tell me something to give me some confidence. Silence. Didn't tell me anything. Okay. Staying here was something I did know to do, right? I knew that's what he wanted me to do. And through staying here, I met my wife. Now you see, he knew I had to stay for a lot of reasons, but one of those reasons, he didn't have to tell me he had somebody, he knew it. And by walking in his obedience, in his will, I got to experience what he had in that other area. And if you don't know what to do, just say this, am I walking in his will in every other area that I already know? And he will direct you towards the stuff that you don't know, and he'll take care of that. You just have to trust him in that. And so we want to walk in his will, then we do that. And this is so great, okay? So you'll learn this someday when you're married, hopefully, if some friends ask me to go do something, they'll say, hey, you want to go hang out and do this or whatever? I say, yeah, that'd be fun, but let me ask my wife. So I ask her, say, hey, what are we doing tomorrow? This time. She'll tell me, oh, no, it's not a good time. And we discuss this, because here's the thing. If I just go do something without telling her, things aren't good at home necessarily, okay? Or if I just go spend like $1,000 like on whatever I wanted, like that wouldn't be good. We need to talk about it first, right? So when we talk about the details of our life and we work them out together, guess what? Our marriage is good. When we are involved in every single detail together, our marriage is good. Now, if God is involved in every detail of your life, if you are asking him for his will and what he wants for you in every area of your life, your relationship with him will be good. But if you're just taking areas of your life and saying, you know what, I'm going to obey you over here, but not over here, and I don't want to listen to you here, and it's not going to work. You got to pursue him in every area, and he will direct your life. And it is a great life when it is directed by him. Let's seek him. Let's find his will. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this message, let us know by leaving a comment below. Also, don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time.